Now, the UK's healthcare industry has come under mounting criticism that it's denying people with disabilities their benefits. The government's Department of Works and Pensions contracted French company ATOS Healthcare at a cost of 100 million British pounds, or about 160 million US dollars a year, to conduct assessments on those with disabilities, which is 11,000 per week. In many instances, people who had been previously deemed unable to work were told they were no longer entitled to employment support allowance. Many took to online forums to document their frustrations against ATOS and its automated testing system. This in turn led the company to actually accuse these websites of libel, threatening legal action and forcing the site's hosts to shut them down. Here's one of the pics. I just want to take you through this quickly because we are running out of time, of one of the websites, afteratos.org, which was a bit of a forum for people who were upset with ATOS and the UK government, and it was shut down after pressure from ATOS. And of course, an ATOS statement as well after that, which basically said, "We appreciate that the closure of the forum by the system administrator has caused unnecessary concern for the forum's members, and we would like to offer assurance that this was never our intention." Well, they say it wasn't their intention, but they went ahead and did it anyway. We also spoke with a representative from the UK government who said it's a matter for ATOS, and we aren't going to comment. Well, joining us now to discuss this via Skype from Edinburgh, Scotland, is John McArdle, who's a founding member and spokesman of the Black Triangle Anti-Defamation Campaign in defense of disability rights. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mac. Good to have you on the program, John.
Good to be
now, you call yourself the Black Triangle group. There's an obvious reference there to ATOS, perhaps behaving like Nazis, I'd imagine. Don't you think that's a bit harsh on them?
Well, that's not really sort of the intention. The motto of the campaign is disabled people fighting for their future, custodians of their past. Just like getting down to business. This whole business of ATOS issuing legal threats to website servers for the likes of small groups of people who are mainly carers. Who are basically sharing information. I mean, can we just say first and foremost that Carer Watch is not a particularly sort of anti-ATOS sort of organisation, on the grand scheme of things, in that it tends to lobby Parliament and MPs, whereas our own campaign, Black Triangle, we do heavily attack ATOS, and they've never come for us, and we wish they would.
But why is that? I mean, why should ATOS take the heat and not the government? Because it seems as if the government's passing the buck here, saying, "Oh, we've subcontracted this. It's a private company.
Well, I mean,
it's none of our business." This is universal healthcare, isn't it? The NHS.
The very idea that a person's disability can be measured by the logic integrated medical assessment by a computer program is frankly insulting to one's intelligence. I mean, I've spoken to so many doctors and physicians and consultants who feel similarly insulted by this system. Do you know that their expert reports, all their years of medicine, having known a patient for year in, year out, it may have taken somebody 20 years to learn how to dress and clothe themselves, but the fact that they can mobilize from A to B does not make them fit for work.
Fair point. Ahmed, you want to come in?
John, Latent Existence on Twitter is putting it quite directly, saying he wants to know why ATOS does not ask the questions as set out by legislation, but instead is seeming to ask their own random questions in that process. What would you say if you had to boil it down?
Well, I realise here that I've only got a couple of minutes to speak, but as far as the Black Triangle campaign is concerned, we believe that the work capability assessment is an affront to our civilization here in Britain. We believe that it's totally unfit for purpose. 40% of people who appeal to the tribunal service who are unrepresented win their appeals. 70% of people who are represented by a welfare rights worker win their appeals. Now, if this happened in the criminal justice system, there would be serious questions being asked by society as to how come there were so many wrongful convictions. It's an absolute outrage what's going on in our country. It's about time that, I welcome the international attention to what's going on here, because it's all very well for David Cameron to be going on about human rights in the Middle East. Well, I think he should damn well look at human rights here. The human rights of sick and disabled people.
John, it's an impassioned plea. We're going to allow you to continue it in the post-show for our TV viewers. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us. We will no doubt see you tomorrow. Much more ahead there. For those of us watching us live online, stay with us. We're going to continue to talk to John and also flesh out the Rick Perry discussion that we touched on earlier on. So stay with us, stream.aljazeera.com. Welcome back to the Post Show. You're watching stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for staying with us. John was very passionate about his opposition to the way he believes ATOS is treating and testing those with disabilities in the United Kingdom. Let's bring him back now. John, we don't have to hit any headlines or go to any commercial breaks, so you have some time. I'm going to allow you to finish your point and to flesh out your argument.
Okay, well, you know, what's been going on since 2008? I mean, let's bear in mind that this work capability assessment regime was introduced under the last Labour government. You know, it was sold to the British public as a thing where we will look at what disabled people are capable of doing rather than what they're not capable of doing. Now, all of the empirical evidence points to the fact that the work capability assessment has been an abject failure in identifying. I mean, basically, when you have such statistics as we have from the tribunal service, that 40% of people who are unrepresented are winning their appeals, 70% of those who are represented. I mean, you know, by any standards, within any, you know, by any international standard, you know, one would say that there was a miscarriage of justice going on here, a miscarriage of civil justice.
Mm-hmm. Maya, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. What's really interesting to me is how, you know, the government has kind of outsourced this work to this French IT company. And I'm interested, you know, if you think this is a danger, you know, that we'll see this repeated in other countries, the government, you know, taking this move of outsourcing this work and then saying, well, don't come to us, you know, go to the company. Is this, I mean, what are the implications for health around the world? And disabled people around the world.
Well, I mean, looking at it from a broader perspective, you know, it's, you know, we see it as part of the. I mean, I can't speak for all the campaign because there are many different voices in our campaign, but you know, many of us see this as an attack of neoliberalism. It's the idea that you know, there is no money left. This false narrative that we're broke. In fact, Britain has only ever had a lower deficit than this for 2 30-year periods in its entire 300-year history. So therefore, we must cut on public.
Oh no, as you said, cut, your Skype connection went. So it seemed as if it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. John's Skype is frozen for the moment. We hope... we're trying to get him back. Hopefully, let's give it 5 seconds. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, great,
now.
Great. Continue.
Yeah, just you know, we see this. You know, we see it over the other side of the pond in America, where the Republicans are calling for cuts in Medicaid and so on, and we see it over here, and we see it on the continent of Europe. What we say is, what about the £120 billion tax cap? Of money which is owed to our exchequer by rich individuals and corporations who are simply not pulling their weight, they're not paying their tax. George Osborne is, you know, aiding and abetting them as far as we're concerned. Let them pay their bloody tax to our country. And, you know, and let's remember that we built up a civilized country after World War II, a country fit for heroes to live in, and not a country where you have to be a hero to live in it.
Okay, let's Ahmed come in perhaps as a final question or thought to John before we let him go and we move back to Rick Perry. Go ahead.
Well, you know, we want to ask you one question, but just before, if I can,
sure.
There's a tweet from Where's the Benefit. It's an interesting kind of anecdote for our audience and you. I'm sure you know this. It says, and of course, the delicious irony that ATOS, who keep finding disabled people not to be disabled, are doing the computing for the Paralympics next year. And I think they have done so for several years. But the question to you, without tooting our own horn, we have a tweet from David Gillian saying, if Al Jazeera thinks the story is big enough for us to have it on our program, why doesn't the UK's homegrown media? Is he right, or do you think that they have been covering it properly?
I think to a great extent he's got an excellent point actually. You know, where's the benefit? The Broken of Britain, Disabled People Against Cuts, Black Triangle campaign. We have been working, you know, flat out to try and get the story into the mass media. We're not talking about, the more liberal press such as the Guardian and the Independent and so on, but you see, the disabled people of Britain have been at the eye of a hate campaign in the tabloid media, which has made people who are in receipt of disability benefits to be scroungers, work shy, you name it, things which are truly worthy of the Völkischer Beobachter of the 1930s, hence the parallels which we draw. We're not saying that ATOS are Nazis or anything like that. All we're simply doing is we're drawing parallels and we're saying, look, we really don't want to go down this route. And we're doing our utmost to get our message out to the general public. And we're having a very hard time doing it.
John, thank you very much for joining us on the stream.
Well, thank you very much
and we hope
for having me on Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I hope we have, I hope we've made a contribution to the debate, and we hope that it will be discussed more prevalently, I suppose, in the UK and in the world. And
well, we thank you very much, and we'd just like to send our solidarity to all the disabled people all over the coverage of the network, and say that we stand together as one, in defence of human rights for all disabled people everywhere.
Well put, John McArdle. Thanks for joining us via Skype from Edinburgh. Well, there you have it. Passionate man. Maya, final thoughts on that before we go back to Rick Perry?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me the way, ATOS has gone and attacked the web hosts that, on the forums where the disabled people have needed to voice their frustration or, their anxiety about not having benefits, that they've gone and kind of shut down that. And so I'm
they're
interested.
doing the IT for the Paralympics.
Yeah. And yeah, that says it all.
There's not much to say about that.
Well, and they've been doing so. Apparently, I thought this tweet, indicated it was some sort of news, but apparently for over a decade now.